Huh. Let's see if that does anything. I think it might. All right. Hopefully you can hear me now. Let's see. Is there any guitar? Oh, the guitar's not doing it either. That's fun. You could probably hear me talking now. Let me know, John. I'm pretty sure you can because I'm actually getting something on the meters here. Yes. Okay. All right. Let's start that again. Okay. So, welcome to ShredMentor Live. I'm your host, Jason Aaron Wood, and tonight we're going to be talking about the fine art of covering everything. Okay? Because to become really, really good, you kind of have to be really, really good at more or less everything. So how the hell do you do that? How do you practice everything? Who has time for that? So, anyway, what we're going to be covering tonight is, well, we only have, less than an hour now, but we have 14 of the ShredMentor strategies, which I had on the screen a moment ago, but this book will be coming out shortly, and just to get the chat out of the way for just a second there, thank you guys for letting me know you can hear me now. I probably don't need the guitar, but I'll just wear it because I'm a guitar teacher or something like that. Anyway, though, I'm going to be covering 14 of these things that are going to, some of them are time management strategies, some of them are just ways to be more efficient, some of them are activities that I would think of as more like high yield activities, things that are more broad reaching and affect all of your playing and have benefits over your overall musicianship versus the one-off kind of thing that a lot of us kind of reach for. But I'm going to cover a lot of different things and ways to spend your time, different strategies that I have that are going to be featured in this book. But I just want to, reiterate here that time, we're not getting any more of that, okay? The one asset that we have that is the most valuable of all is the one that we can't replace. So when I am talking about doing things quickly and doing more in your time and accomplishing more, it's not about stressing you out and go, hurry up and trying to turn it into a rush. It's that I want you to be alive still with enough of your lifespan ahead of you to enjoy this after you've achieved it. I don't want you to be a decrepit old person who can barely move anymore by the time you reach these goals. Okay, so I just want to kind of point that out. It's not about rushing or turning your process into anything stressful. It's just that the sooner you get good, the more of your life you can spend already good and using your skills rather than still developing them. Not that I'm not still learning myself. I always learn. To me, that's part of the enjoyment of life, is to continually progress. I like learning because I found a fun way to do it. To me, it's exciting to see, what else can I do? What can I do with that? What can I do with that? And so I'm just walking around in the convenience store listening to whatever, in the grocery store listening to even music I don't like and thinking, interesting how they did that though in there. And I'm just shopping for skills and stuff like that. So even when I'm not holding an instrument, I'm still doing musical tasks, just walking around. If I'm sitting at the left turn lane with my blinker on waiting to go, I'm playing along to that built-in metronome in my car. I'm doing musical things everywhere all the time, and that's part of, that's not even on my list, to be honest. But anyway, let's go back to the chat. I'm going to probably be on this this screen for a while, because why not? Because now I figured out a way to get the chat on this screen and just pop things in and out. Isn't that so cool? Woohoo! Boom! Zoom! That's so fun. If I can figure out how to steer this thing. All right, anyway. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Matthew, good to see you again. We just talked a few minutes ago. Anyway, number one then, okay? So these are in not any particular order, but some of them lead into each other. So let's get going here. You might want to either bookmark this video or have a pen and paper or both. The more ways that you process the same information, the more it's likely to stick and you're going to apply it, okay? But it's up to you to apply this stuff. So number one, the one I'm going to share with you, I've talked about before, is the rhythmic theme of the day. And I've got a really big-ass notebook in front of me, so it's, you see me looking, it's all up here, but it's bouncing around chaotically, so I'll refer here. Rhythmic, oh, sorry, no, not rhythmic theme of the day, that's later. Rhythmic breath of life strategy. This one is first on purpose. Again, I don't have any amp sound because my audio is all stupid tonight, but what I am going to do real quick, oh, you know what? No, forget it. I'm not going to mess around with that. Anyway, I'm going to you can just hear my guitar in the room, and we do. Okay? Hopefully you can hear the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 nature of what I just did. Okay? This is the first priority you should have with everything, is to turn it into an audible, accented rhythm pattern. I cannot stress this enough, okay? Because if you're not doing that, you're not practicing being musical. And there's really never a point when that's not the goal. So always practice doing something in a musical way. And in music, things are accented. There needs to be a groove. The most important thing that moves the listener is the sense of motion. People mostly get into the rhythm. They're going to listen to other things, but the thing that makes them physically move is the rhythm. So you need to be the rhythm. It's not just the drummer's job. It's everybody's job. It's your job, okay? So your riff shouldn't just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. You could lose yourself in that. You can't tell where the hell you are. But 1. Or something more complex here. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. I know what I played. I know what the rhythm is, and I made it clear to the listener. Right? Do this with everything. You don't have to do it fast. You have to do it with accenting, and that's the missing piece in most people's conception of what rhythm is accenting. So always play it steady as much as you can, but more importantly, accent it deliberately so you can hear those main beats. Do it with everything. Everything you play, first of all, needs to be of a rhythmic length. So if you're just playing something that's not counted, stop doing that. Count how long it is. Look at, is it a multiple 3? Is it a multiple 4? How many notes is it? What time signature is this probably? And then force it to be that time signature, because it's gonna, doing this with everything as your first priority is going to make everything come to life. Hence the name of this strategy, the rhythmic breath of life. As soon as you do that, it all comes alive. Until you do that, it's sort of monotonous reciting of notes. And we don't really turn the radio on to listen to that, or Spotify, or wherever you listen to music. That is not what we're listening for. That's what makes us turn it off, if it sounds like that. That's what exercises tend to sound like. So don't make your exercises sound like that. Make every exercise sound rhythmic and accented and come alive, because everything you play needs to come alive. Number 2, structured time strategy. This would have been first on the list if the other one wasn't more important. This is as important though, and this isn't a negotiable thing. If you're not doing this, you're wasting your time. You're one way or another, you are going to be wasting your time, because this is how you avoid wasting your time, okay? Or you're not wasting it, you're squandering your time on too few areas, okay? Breaking up, I'm going to go back to this. An hour is ideal. Well, technically 52 minutes is ideal according to science, okay? There has been a study done. 52 minutes is the optimal amount of concentration before it just drops. Okay, the quality of your concentration drops off after 52 minutes. We can round it up to an hour, because let's face it, we're doing something kind of fun too. Screw it, round it up. It doesn't matter, okay? You're having fun anyway, but you do want to be 100% concentrated on what you are doing. But don't spend 1 hour on one thing. Don't squander 1 hour on one thing, because here's the thing. You're only going to get so much better at that one skill today. But you could at least get so much better at 6 things today, 10 things, 20 things. It depends on how long you spend on each of those things. Yes, 20 things in 60 minutes is 3 minutes each. These are going to be things that we talk about. Well, you know what? No, I didn't include it. The familiarity principle is one that I'm not mentioning here, but just to just to call back to this again, okay, this is another one of the strategies in here. It's the familiarity principle, which is the more familiar the thing is, the less time you need to spend on it. So it will evolve with you. So if you're looking for the ultimate holy grail of practice routines that you never ever have to change again, give it up. It's a pipe dream. It doesn't exist. It always changes because you are changing. If your practice routine isn't changing, neither are you. Okay, so anyway, Mike's saying, I've always accented my downstroke when switching strings when possible. That's good, but make sure it's deliberate on a beat. That's more important because that accent might happen on an upstroke too. So it needs to be based on what the rhythm is supposed to sound like. But anyway, the structured time strategy, okay? The most simple version of this that I give to everybody is take an hour, break it up into 6 10-minute segments, and now pick 6 things. Techniques, preferably. Not a scale, because you're going to be playing a scale with whatever you do, probably. But pick techniques. When I say techniques, I mean things that your picking hand does and things that your fretting hand does, okay? Those things that your 2 hands do on the instrument, that is a technique, okay? Hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, slides, alternate picking, economy picking, sweep picking, those are techniques, okay? There are other techniques of writing, like call and response, but guitar techniques, I'm talking about things that your hands do. Pick those because that is your playing technique, guitar technique. That's what we're talking about when we talk about guitar playing. You want to improve your guitar playing, target techniques, 6 of them, 10 minutes each. Do nothing but that. Don't be like, what am I going to do later? What am I going to eat? No. Cancel all external thoughts. Get away from all external distractions and focus 100% on the thing you were doing. Spending your time well. Remember, not getting that time back. Anyway. Okay, so, yeah, that's the structured time strategy in a nutshell. Don't squander your time on one thing. And to be really honest, that 10-minute segment is just a good place to start. But really, even that's not optimal because certain skills just don't take that much time. Some things take more time, however. You have an hour, you want to learn a song in there somewhere, well, you're going to need at least a half hour to do that. Like 5-minute song, you're going to have to listen to it at least maybe, 6 times. That's a half an hour. Hopefully you can learn the parts of the song you want to learn today and not squander the whole hour on that song. Because that song is not going to be where you get the bulk of your abilities, I promise. Learning a song is sort of like it's a case study of a use of a particular handful of certain techniques used with a certain handful of scales. That's it. That's what a song is. It's an individual case study. It is not where you're going to get most of your stuff. Focus on some techniques. So if you want a song for a half an hour, at least pick like the other half an hour, do 5 minutes each on several different individual techniques that might be sort of familiar already. In the beginning, maybe you might need 15 minutes on one technique though. So it varies. So if you're not sure, just go with 10 minutes each. Save the song for after your 1 hour. Do the efficient stuff where you get further, like the hard hitting stuff with your hour, 10 minutes each, or shorter if it takes, again, more familiar, less time. Less familiar, you're going to need some time to work through. There's the basics of those techniques and those skills. So give yourself a little more time. Some things might take 15 minutes in the beginning, or 20 even for a while. So if you're new to sweep picking, you're probably going to need 15 to 20 minutes a day just to get anything to happen. But, after a few weeks, you can minimize it, bring it down a little bit to 15. Once you sort of have the hang of it, just 10 minutes a day, you'll get better at it. Trust me, it takes some time, but don't squander the whole time on that, okay? So squandering, that's the word we want to think about here. That's what we're avoiding with this structured time strategy. All right, so number 3, this is important because most people sort of have the assumption that they need to wait for this. I need to be able to play better before I do any of these other things like improvise or worry about writing solos or worry about recording and songwriting. Wrong. And here's why. Those are all separate skills. So if you want to become picture yourself as a bar graph, okay? You're playing. Your goal, according to that thinking, is playing, songwriting, writing, soloing, recording. You want to be a beginner at everything except one thing. You want to be utterly disproportionate. That's what that thinking leads to, okay? Don't do that. Well, this specifically is about your fluency in your playing, though, okay? The lab and field strategy, okay? What I'm talking about is you take something, I I wish I had my sound working tonight, but I'm not going to cancel this thing here, so whatever. Ultimately, the idea is practice in exercise mode to develop motor memory, basic essential vocabulary, a concept of the way that your fingers need to move, in what order, the accenting, as I said here, all that stuff, just the basics of the technique. But then at least a third of your time, as you're starting to build vocabulary, spend a third of your time actually improvising with that stuff over backing tracks with chord progressions, so that what you're doing, you also have to think about the extra layer of what chord is happening right now, and which note of the scale am I trying to hit, which of the three notes are in that triad which resolve the melody. So you have to pay more attention to what's happening in the background. You're playing within the backing track, not over it. And we use the word play over a backing track, but some people really do play over it, like they're just shouting over it and blocking it out and not listening. That's not the point. The whole point is to play within the harmony. Your melody is part of the harmony, so you need to be more selective about how you use the things you've been practicing, and it really puts them to the test as far as, are they worth your practice time? And sadly, for a lot of people, I can say no, they're not. So we need to improve the quality of what you're working on. But that's also in there. But anyway, Mike's saying, I'm referring to 3 notes per string of the 3 and 5. So again, it still depends on what the rhythm pattern of whatever you're trying to play is. I get what you mean, and I can see why the downstroke would be, especially if you're doing like a triplet type thing, every downstroke, or a sextuplet thing, your first downstroke on every other 3 note per string pattern would end up being 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6, or something like that, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So I can see that working out too. It always depends on the rhythm first, that what the rhythmic groove ought to feel like. Anyway, so the fourth thing, okay, so the lab and field strategy. I'm sorry, I'm not done with that one. The lab and the field. The lab is sort of the testing ground, okay? That it's the analogy is that when you're in an exercise mode and you're playing just things as an exercise, there's no external anything. You're just sort of in a safe, isolated testing environment. And then when you turn on the backing track, you're sort of going out in the field and you're trying it in real life with real criteria and time-sensitive decision making. And you gotta sink or swim and kind of see how you're doing with that. And now when you make your mistakes, you see how that goes. You know, you can take it back in the lab and test it out in exercise mode, and you have more criteria to think about what areas you need to spend a little more time focusing on when you practice it as an exercise. Then you take it back out in the field and try it with a backing track, and maybe a different backing track, maybe the same one. Try different things, but taking it into the field, into real life criteria, harmonic changes, chord changes, rhythmic changes, being able to subdivide it, doing different sequences with it, making it still resolve the melody, adding phrasing into it, all of the things that actually make it musical, not a rote repetition of an exercise. That's the lab. The real life stuff is that you applying it in a real life situation. That's where backing tracks, chord progressions in particular, but there are other kinds of improv too. Rhythmic improvisation, being able to syncopate your ideas using polyrhythms, polymeter, various, both of those. Like polymeter would be a different time signature over the existing time signature. Polyrhythms would be a different way of subdividing, so a different subdivision. So if 16th notes are playing in the double bass drumming, you play 16th note triplets over top of that. So the 1 lines up of your 6 over the 1 of the 4 in the beats, and you still line up to the 1 of everything, but you're not actually playing the same subbeat and doing it evenly. A lot of stuff to balance doing that, but these are all different ways to improvise with that skill spontaneously and spontaneously compose. That's what we're really doing here. That is what improv really is. You're spontaneously composing. It's all of the things you would need to do as a composer, but you also are doing them while playing and spontaneously making those decisions. So it's all the same criteria as actually composing melodies. You're just doing it in the moment. Okay? Do that 1/3 of your time when you're starting out and still developing vocabulary. Eventually increase that to about half your time. And by the time you're feeling, like you got a lot of vocabulary and you're a lot to work with, just do it about 2/3 of your time. I mostly do that and record now. That's I very rarely spend time doing exercises at all anymore. I know what I did. I have my favorite ones, but they actually become pieces of my solos and riffs, and they make regular appearances in various solos and riffs because I use them in different ways, in different modes, different types of scales, in different combinations. So you don't recognize them all the time unless you know to look or listen for them. But I'm doing them all the time. In fact, yeah, they're all in the book of sequences for the most part. I don't think I've come up with a whole lot of sequences that I didn't include in the book of sequences. Anyway, so that is the lab and field strategy in a nutshell. 1/3 of your time early on, and eventually gradually increase the amount of time you spend improvising with your skills up to 2/3 of your time. Most of your time being musical to backing tracks, because that's how good you actually are in the moment. Somebody thrusts a guitar in your hand. Hey man, play something for us. What? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, I'll play whatever. And it's freaking awesome anyway. That's how you make a mark. Okay, so anyway, that. Number 4 is the skill day strategy. This is kind of the structured time strategy applied to your whole week. Instead of, rather than one skill at a time, we're going to focus on more of a category. So maybe 1/3 of your time is maybe every third day. Maybe you just purely improvise the whole time. That could work that way too. Okay, there's a combination of the structured time strategy and the lab and field strategy, right? But then maybe one day is technique day, the next day is improv day, and the third day maybe is phrasing day, and maybe next time you come back to technique day, it's a mixture of, well, it's technique day, but with phrasing, using the alternating phrasing strategy, which is just simply every time you finish a phrase, give it a big finish and give it a, something. And it sounds great through my headphones, but I wish you guys could hear the amp of it. But anyway. Stupid ass voice meter failed me tonight. So anyway, whatever. At least the mic is working, so that matters. Okay, so the skill day strategy, yeah, it's basically just kind of a more broad category kind of way of organizing your week. So if you have recording to do, maybe that's recording and songwriting day, or maybe solo writing day, or there's different overall skill sets that you can devote an entire day to that can help you to kind of focus your energies and your thought on things that are going to matter a lot more because there's a goal. When you have a goal, you're working towards something. If to get better isn't a friggin' goal, all right? So get more specific. Get better is everyone's goal, and it's not actionable. An actionable goal is something like, I want to practice getting better at writing solos. Okay, good. Now what does that entail? If you can keep saying, okay, now what does that entail? Now, what does that entail? What does that entail? You need to be able to make a list, a sub-list that comes under the thing you're saying. So don't start with want to get better, because what in the hell does that even mean? That means something different to every person on the planet. What does it mean to you? So start to break that down into smaller details, actionable details. Okay? So anyway, skill day strategies, just breaking up your week, especially we're talking about the art of covering everything. You're going to need your week to be kind of balanced, and this is between the structured time strategy per day and the skill day strategy, every day. You're going to have a lot more focus and structure and balance in your schedule, just that much alone. And of course the lab and field strategy, because don't forget to always keep applying whatever you work on. Always. All right, always make time for that. Okay, next, this is one a little bit more of a high yield activity, but this is the 3 textures strategy. I do really wish in this case that I could get my damn amp to work. I'm going to try real quick. I'm sorry. I'm going to not pause anything, but let me see if I can get oh, sorry, Mike, you had a comment. My problem with writing songs is working out the solo phrasing. I get lost at times. Yeah, that it can happen. Yeah. I would recommend using MIDI. Throw a basic MIDI, some virtual synthesizer in there, and on a MIDI track, just write out pieces at a time, just so that the composition is done, and then just figure out where you want to throw a bend or vibrato. Just have your guitar on you, of course, when you do that, but that it's like a listenable placeholder. I use it all the time, especially when things get a little bit complex, like a ton of different chord changes that are also key changes. It gets really hard to remember where the hell I was, so I'll be connecting a phrase in this key, and then it lands on this one note, a half step short of where I would have gone in that key, so I can get to the next key, and it's just too much to juggle in your head. So get it out of your head, get it on the screen where you can see the MIDI. It might take a little bit of getting used to if you're not that familiar with dealing with like the piano roll, but it's the same language, different dialect. Still your guitar, so just one note at a time, just kind of. It also makes you very, very clear about what the rhythm of your solo is supposed to be too. And if you really feel like it, you can actually even put the MIDI pitch bend thing. A lot of the synth patches have like a pitch bend function in them, and a lot of the time the pitch bender is one whole step, so you can just draw in the curve all the way up, which is a whole step, all the way down, which is, well, a dive bomb. You probably just want to go up, but for bending, or you can just go halfway up, and that'll be your half step bend. You can approximate that too, or you can just do what I do and just do a quick short note of the original note and do like a grace note. Anyway, the 3 textures strategy is a way to save time by turning one exercise into something that covers 3 times as much territory. And it's 3 specific articulation techniques, okay? Picking techniques, but, well, no, articulation, because it's not all picking. So I wish, like hell, again, that you could hear this, but ultimately, I can take something like this, right? That's just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a minor scale, okay? It happens to be E minor right now. But what I might do, instead of just playing, oh, do I work on my alternate picking today? Or do I work on my legato today? Or do I work on my palm MIDI today? It's not either or. Do all 3, and don't stop in between. So do like 2 times with legato. Pick. Palm mute. Legato. Pick. Palm mute. All right. One exercise. No need to stop in between. In fact, you're practicing using these skills together, which is another part of what we're kind of doing. 2 more strategies from now. Okay. Again, we are talking about ShredMentor strategies tonight here. So I'm sharing just a few of them that will save you a lot of time and enable you to cover lots and lots of ground in a fraction of the time, because you still only have the same 24 hours everybody else has, and you're not getting any more time. So let's remember that. It's very important. But yeah, let's get into the next one then, okay? The next one is more of a fretboard strategy, all right? And it's called the 3 modes strategy, okay? This time we're talking about what I just did there, okay? Instead of that, they can be used together. But I just did one mode of the scale. I'm just playing the same hexachord. What I would do in the 3 mode strategy is treat the mode I'm starting at as the central mode, and then I'll deal with the mode below it. Then go back to the original. Then go up a mode as well. Then back through the middle. So that way there's a central mode, and you're going to hit both of the adjacent modes on each side. The idea here is stop taking baby steps, okay? If you want to get on the long journey, you don't take friggin' baby steps. Baby steps are overrated because we're in a culture full of demotivated people who don't take any goddamn action. Okay, so here's the thing. Get past the baby steps. You're not a baby. Take slightly bigger steps. Even a beginner can learn 3 shapes and then move over and play that. Move back to where you were. Remember that first thing you did? Good. Move up. Here's this new shape. Now move back to the familiar one. Now move to that other one. Just bounce back and forth. The middle one is the main one, okay? The 3 modes, and I'm just doing one thing. So this applies to anything. So I'm doing a sweep arpeggio. What's the one below it? Go back. What's above it? Oop. All right. Anyway, hopefully you can hear that okay. I know it's just the dry guitar in the room. All right. So you're welcome. Yeah, MIDI is a great writing tool. I've used it for many, many years to just plan my shit up because it's too much. And plus, it's also good, by the way, if you're writing a little above your playing ability, which I've done for many, many years too. I find that it's sort of okay. Well, this is how it's going to go, but I'm going to have to work on this a little while before I can actually play it. So, and I've done quite a few like Zoom calls and various lessons like that too, where I was like, I can't play it yet, but don't worry, I'll get there. It's just through the stuff that we're talking about now, right? So it's just the same kind of strategic approach to, depending on what you're trying to do, there's a certain strategy to follow it. So I know the word strategy gets overused, and a strategy is a way to tackle multiple goals in the same way. Okay, tactic is one way to do one thing. That's how most people think. It's tactical thinking. Not good enough. A strategy may contain multiple tactics. It probably will, but a strategy is much more orchestrated. Okay, and that's what this all is. Okay, this makes it so you're covering multiple areas in every single thing we're talking about. It's far-reaching, okay, and that's why we need something like a book of strategies. So keep an eye on that. All right, or keep an eye out for that. Okay, so now that's the 3 modes strategy. Okay, so you're doing, in fact, that can kind of lead also to targeted finger combinations too. So if you take something like even just the three notes on one string, all right, and do like a pedal point thing. That's great. That's 1, 2, and 3 from the scale, but my middle finger hasn't had a single thing to do, which means I'm not getting any development on that finger. So I'll move up a mode. Hey, what do you know? Now my middle finger has something to do, and my ring finger has nothing to do. So moving back and forth just between those gives my hand a complete workout because nothing's getting left out. Move down again. Now I get that stretch thing where it's 2 whole steps, and I get that finger combination, and I could solidify the motor memory of that finger combination and that stretch feeling there, right? So you get all the transitions also on top of that, as well as all the useful motor memory. Practicing things you can actually use. So whatever you do all the time is what you're going to get good at. So if what you're spending your time on is like aimless, mindless finger exercises that are unmusical, that's what you're going to actually be good at. So if you're ever doing a bunch of that and you're like, why can't I ever make what I'm doing sound musical? It's because you've been practicing shit like that. So time to change, right? Okay, so that's the 3 mode strategy. Basically, ditch the baby steps. You're not a baby. You need to do more than baby steps. This is a major trek. This is a huge journey, so quit tiptoeing your way through it, because you're not going to get there if you don't start picking up the pace and doing things in a way that covers more ground sooner. And this is something I've found that pretty much anybody can take on. Don't take on 1 mode today. Take on 3. It's not a race across the whole fretboard, so don't notice I did not play the entire scale across the neck. That's not a melody. All right, people want to hear melodies. Okay, so use your scales to make melodies. Don't just recite your scales up and down. Okay, unless you have a cool rhythm to it and you're doing it like, so that was sextuplets, and it was a sequence of 6s, and I did it in 5 beats worth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm very, very aware of how many beats it takes up, how long how much time it occupies in the music, where the accents are, all that stuff, right? Actually, it's 5 beats worth of it plus the final note, which landed on beat 6, right? So anyway, that's the kind of stuff I want to point out to you. Okay. Number 7 then, okay, is the combined skills strategy. In a sense, that's sort of what the 3 texture strategy kind of was one example of, but the combined skills strategy would be to purposely combine something like alternate picking and sweep picking. So I might do like a sweep on the way up and then a scale down. All right, and another combined skills. I already mentioned the alternating phrasing strategy when I talked about the skill day thing, but every time your phrase ends, that's a great time to practice getting into a bend with some vibrato, or at least vibrato by itself, because the way we use if you practice phrasing only by itself, and I specifically mean like bending with excellent intonation consistently and really expressive vibrato. Those are the two big ones. If you can do that, not only when you have time to let's get my finger in just the right comfortable position, let's take all the time we need, and then that's great. But what about when you have one triplet's time to suddenly do it and get into position and move your thumb up to the top so you can squeeze against the opposite direction that your fingers are going, right? Real time, okay? Real life stuff, okay? So combining your skills on purpose, that essentially the alternating phrasing strategy, which was number 8, because I'm getting ahead of myself. I wrote that there. That was the next one. So combining your skills, though, purposely throwing a tap. So I love doing this with my Hirajoshi scale. There's a tap, and you're probably not going to hear it too well, but it's basically 3 octaves. It's basically that way you can hear the melody, but I would basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So right there, I'm hammer on, tap, slide, pull off, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Starts on a downstroke again. Works out perfect, right? So I've really mapped out every pick stroke in that too. So thinking about that kind of stuff as you go, every minute detail of what would the alternate picking be on this note when I pick up the picking again. Is it an upstroke or a downstroke? If you figure that out ahead of time, I don't have a name for that strategy, but just be really anal about what the picking would have been in alternate picking, so that when you jump back into alternate picking, when you decide to throw your hammer-ons and pull-offs in there, it's the same pick stroke it would have been, so you can just just go right. When I come back in on that string, it's upstroke. Right? Makes sense? Okay, so that's the combined skills strategy in general. You pick 2 techniques, things that you used to spend maybe 10 minutes each on. Now you clump them together as one exercise purposely. You just make your own thing up. You don't need someone to supply you with exercises, by the way. If you don't know how to make an exercise, then you do. But that's what we talk about at the Total Artist Development System, by the way. Yes, I have a special screen for that too, right? Anyway, we'll go back to that. But yeah, that's what that's about too, right? Combining skills together. So making your own exercises, because again, it just needs to be a rhythmic pattern anyway. So it needs to have a rhythmic length, right? So that's it. Play through your scale until you reach a certain rhythmic number. Multiples of 3 and 4. So 4, 8. 12, 16, stuff like that. And you can get more creative with it too. So like 9, 3 beats of triplets, 18, 6 beats of triplets, or, who knows how you want to break that up. The bigger the number, the more ways there are to break it up too. So experiment with different accenting patterns, but make sure it has a rhythmic feel the whole time. Number 9 is the consolidation strategy. Now that is what I was just talking about, where you it's part of the combined skill strategy, but it's how it applies to the vocabulary side of things. So this is more about your exercises themselves, the phrases that you play. Start combining phrases and exercises and sequences. Of course, I don't have my in-your-face sequences thing. Nope, I don't. I got rid of it. Oh, damn. I miss it. Anyway, that's fine. You'll live if I don't jam the word sequences in your face real big this week, but I'll put that back for next week. Mike's saying, oh, sorry, I'm missing a couple things here. I've been taking one finger, keeping it stationary as I go through a scale. Put a finger on the G string, 4th fret, go through Ionian. I've been using. Let's see. First finger, 4th fret, G string. Then go through major scale, and then use the 2nd finger on the 5th fret. So, like, are we talking like are we talking a trill, or are you talking like that kind of thing? Or I tend to leave my first finger stationary too, and I stack fingers on. But by the time, if I'm going to another string, I do pick my finger up to do that. I'm not sure what you mean as far as leaving your fingers stationary, though, or for how long, or the context, but feel free to let me know in the chat. So the consolidation strategy is where you're purposely combining things. So I might spend a little bit of time working on the sequence of thirds. And then maybe, or so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is where it's important. Count your phrases as you go. How long is the total phrase? And then, okay, that was 8. So I may be like a, and then that was a sequence of 4 descending. So I'll ascend this one. 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6. So it'll be up 2 notes, down 1, up 2 notes, down 1. So every note, follow it but with its third. Then go down a note, play the third of that note, go down a note, play the third of that note, play that down a note, go play the third of that note. So anyway, that's hence the sequence of thirds. You play a note and its third. Move it through the scale. Okay? If you involve 6 different notes of the scale with it, by the time you hit that note 6, it's actually 8 beats long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm going to slide up a note of the scale just so I have a new note, and then I'll do the sequence of 4, which is just 4, 3, 2, 1. Go down a note, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go down a different starting note, that is. Now that leads me into note 2 of the scale, so I can do the whole thing from the next mode. Right? So anyway, yeah, that. Right? Again, sorry for the dry guitar in the room kind of sound, but I think you get the idea, right? That's just 2 random sequences. They're their own melodic idea now. I'm not stopping in between. I'm not going. No, it's one phrase. It's. Alright, so anyway, I'm playing it like I'm through an amp here because I'm actually hearing the amp in my ears. I'm so sorry that you guys are not hearing it through OBS. You can't hear it tonight, I guess. Anyway, okay, so anyway, yeah, that is the that's the consolidation strategy, okay? The next would be what I was kind of talking about there, the rhythmic theme of the day. That's number 10, and it kind of comes out of the consolidation strategy. Using things together doesn't absolutely require it, but it sure is a lot easier if they're rhythmically compatible with each other in the first place. So notice how I counted through that first phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If it wasn't 8 by itself, I would have forced it to be 8 or something. I would just kept going until I reach 8 notes so that it's actually a multiple of 4 or some common time signature so that I can use it in the widest variety of situations. And then the other thing also needs to be a multiple of some common note. Well, again, I'm using the word need. It doesn't need to because odd time is a thing. You know, so maybe I'll do like 8 and 6. All right, so instead of doing the sequence of 4 on the way down, I'll do the sequence of 3 twice. So, yeah. Right? So, odd time. You can do it. That's fine. It doesn't need to, but then you're going to need to construct an odd time with a 14/8 or 7/8 kind of thing, or 2 measures of 7/8 will do it. But yeah, that kind of thing. So just keep count. As long as you know what the structure of it is, you can give it rhythmic life, and then you're going to need to put a drum beat in there to make it a song. But yeah, as long as everybody in the band, even if it's a one-man band, if everybody in the perceived band is on the same page with the same accenting, making that rhythmic feel happen together, good, you've done your job. All right? Okay, so that's the rhythmic theme of the day. So use things, it's easier if you keep things that are multiples of 4 together and things that are multiples of 3 together, and purposely try to reach a certain set phrase length. So you might have to, like, so I did this 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this I did twice because the phrases are 4 notes. Each one gives me an 8-note phrase, but I use 2 separate sequences to get there. okay? I did 4 instances of the sequence of thirds, because that's only a 2-note sequence, and then I used 2 instances of the sequence of 4, because that's a 4-note sequence. So different ways of arriving at the same length. Don't have to do it that way. You can make it, 3 sets of 4 and 1 set of 8. It doesn't matter. You could do a whole octave if you want to, like 1. So that's did a sequence of 4 on the way down, but a sequence of 8 on the way up. Basically just an 8-note run. So, and you can just come up with stuff really quick like that if the sequence is the priority too, by the way. So if that's the main criteria you're following, you can just pick a scale. You need a quantity. So what's the rhythm supposed to be? There you go. The sequence will kind of tell you the rhythm anyway for the most part. So you just need to play the sequence enough times to get the rhythm you're going for. Okay, so that's the rhythmic theme of the day. Use things that are rhythmically compatible with each other. Rhythmic compatibility allows you to use things together, and it expands your vocabulary a lot faster, a lot sooner. Okay, so, and while we're on that topic, there's one other similar or related strategy, and is you don't have to know every possible rhythmic scenario yet. If you want to get there, go for it. But I talked about the widest range of situations, right? That the 2 3 4 6 strategy, okay? That is basically useful rhythms, things that are multiples of 2, multiples of 3, multiples of 4, and multiples of 6, okay? So unless you're trying to purposely be super odd time person, and then go ahead and dive into your 13s and your 17s and your prime numbers and weird shit like that. But frankly, if you want to be versatile, then you need to actually prepare yourself for the widest range of scenarios, not the weird exceptions. So 2, 3, 4, 6. Remember, those are the most important numbers. Literally everything in rhythm can be broken into 2 and 3. Okay? Everything. Even 13, 8. Seriously, let's break it down. Okay? How many 3s does it take to get to 13? It's not even. It's not an even multiple of 3. I know that, but 3, 3, 3. That's 9. 4 more. That's just 2s. 4 is 2s. So 3 3s, 2 2s. 13, right? Quick. 13. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2. Right? There's 13. Quick. It's a quick way to get there, right? So anyway, that kind of thing. Everything is 2s and 3s if you really break it down enough. A 4 is just the only reason to deal with 4s and 6s is that 2 and 3 are very short in terms of phrases. So as shredders, we might want 4s and 6s. It's just twice as many notes, but they have their own accent. 1 ienda, that's a 4, or a 1 and 2 and 3 is what I mean by a 6. It's like a doubled up triplet. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 2 3. If that's your triplet, 1 2 3 1 2 3, then sextuplets would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 2 3 1 2 3. Right? So that's what I'm kind of talking about. So having 4s and 6s gives us slightly longer phrases so that we can construct more complex stuff more quickly, but everything literally is 2s and 3s in the end. But anyway, the 2 3 4 6 strategy helps you to focus on what matters, which is the widest variety of basically most common time signatures. And also, that's also how most of the subdivisions of a beat work too. 2 3 4 and 6 start with a quarter note. Divided into 2, you have 8th notes. Divided into 3, you have 8th note triplets. Divided into 4, you have 16th notes. Divided into 6, you have 16th note triplets or sextuplets, however you want to think of them. That's 2, 3, 4, and 6 are the main rhythmic numbers, so focus mostly on that. And if you need some weird odd time stuff in your life, then add that as extra curricular activities, because these are the high yield activities. Things that affect your overall playing and or cover multiple areas of your musicianship at once and lead a lot further. Like high yield investments. You're putting the energy in for a certain amount of time, but you get a lot more back. That's what we want. We're investing time, right? So once again, time. Let's put that on the screen for a minute. Okay, getting into the next one here, okay? Because that's what it's all about. Time. Doing more in the same amount of time. You don't get more hours in the day than anybody else. It's the same 24, so you got to make the time you spend count. So number 12 is the scale comparison strategy. While we're at it, let's play 2 different scales alternatingly, not literally at the same time, because that would sound terrible. All right. So anyway, let's take a look at what that would be. Okay. So similar idea with the, you can use this with the multiple, so with the 3 textures and 3 mode strategy too, by the way. So you can just make one long ass, very cool kind of all-inclusive exercise out of this. But here, check this out. Okay. I'm going to use mode 2 of this purposely, just because I'm going to go back and forth between natural minor and harmonic minor. Okay, I'll just use the sequence of 6 right now. I'm not going to do all of those things. I already covered the 3 textures and the 3 mode strategies. Okay, but basically, sequence of thirds, but I'll use mode 2, which is Locrian, just with a hexachord. Now I'm going to raise the, because Locrian is the 2, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In harmonic minor, 7 is raised to half step, right? So what I'll do is I'll do this 2 or 4 times. I'll just do 2 for demonstration purposes. I'll do 2 in natural minor, and without stopping, go into 2 in harmonic minor. And what that does, not only do you cover both variations of what that scale looks like, but you're a lot more aware of what note that is. Because if you know that harmonic minor is natural minor with a raised 7, then every time you move that note up, you know that's note 7, which helps you piece together. Your scale degree awareness actually gets a lot stronger. So you're actually improving your fretboard knowledge in more than one way just by doing that. So don't practice 1 scale, practice at least 2. You can get even further with this if you get 3 or 4. So let's do this, the Hungarian minor one after that. So that's the, so it's a more and more exotic sounding thing. So you raise the 4 and the 7 from natural minor to get Hungarian minor. So let's do the natural minor, harmonic minor, Hungarian, harmonic. I kind of only change 1 note at a time, by the way, so I like to pass back through a note that, you know, so harmonic minor is sort of the bridge between those two. Anyway, you could theoretically go that far, but I usually just do 2. Scale comparison, I just compare 2. Anyway, so that's that. Deliberately alternate back and forth between related scales. It's really recommended that you do this with scales that are 1 note off from each other. So it could be Aeolian and Dorian, which is like right. The 6th is the difference between Aeolian and Dorian. Dorian is like minor with a raised 6. So this will really, really, really strengthen your scale knowledge as long as you're paying attention to what scale degree each note is when you go to play it, and which scale degree is different between them. So learning paying attention to the actual recipe, as like root, 2nd, minor 3rd, 4th, 5th, minor 6th, minor 7th. That is the recipe, the actual formula of the scale. Which brings me to the next thing, by the way, the scale knowledge onion. It's one of my silly named things, but it's because of the many, many layers of an onion. Scale knowledge is not just where are the notes and where do I put my fingers. For many people, that is where it starts and ends. But that's like looking at X on the map and thinking you've done the whole journey. All that X is you are here. You haven't even begun moving. You're step 0 to identify where the notes are and where to put your fingers. You can't even do anything until you do that. So that doesn't count for anything. But many people, that's all you're going to get out of a scale book, isn't it? So that seems like the goal, but it's not. In fact, so much more is involved in scales. But let's just talk about a couple of them. What type of chord is on the 3rd of a minor scale? What type of triad is formed with the 3rd as the root? Major. What kind of triad is formed from the 7th of a harmonic minor scale? Diminished. Right, so just like random, not meant to be random trivia, but you'll be able to answer random trivia. More importantly, what order do the types of chords happen in the natural minor scale? Matthew, I know you actually responded with an email to this when I asked this last year. If you can recite it out loud, kudos to you. You've got it, because this is really, really important. In fact, this is the chord type order strategy. This is one of the things that will really do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. It's minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, major, major. Again, minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, major, major. That's, if you play in minor keys, you might as well memorize that. Minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, major, major. Anyway, though, that's one piece of the scale knowledge onion. There are so many different things. How well can you, where are all the whole step bends in the minor pentatonic scale? Which scale degree do they come from? The third, they come from the fourth, and they come from the seventh. Which notes are missing from the minor pentatonic scale that would make it Dorian? What do you add back in? Major second and a major sixth. What do you do to make it Phrygian? Flat 7 and a flat 6. What do you do for Dorian? I did that one already. Aeolian, major second, minor sixth. There's spaces between the 1 and the 3 and the 5 and the 7. Which sixth and which second are you going to put in there? Which mode of harmonic minor is Phrygian dominant? And what's the relevance there? What scale degree is Phrygian dominant of harmonic minor? Right? So what can you, or more importantly, can you recognize what type of scale is being used from hearing a chord progression while you're walking around in the supermarket? And can you go home and repeat that chord progression in whatever key you want? Can you harmonize whatever melody you're hearing in the vocals with a harmony in that scale? Can you use thirds to harmonize that melody by identifying the scale and then moving up 2 notes in it? Can you do that? Can you do the mental work? Whether or not you can sing or not is yet another thing, but it helps if you can at least hum it, because it means you've internalized the pitch and you can recognize the interval, right? So these are all just multiple random layers of the scale knowledge onion that I just happen to think of right now. I've written a whole bunch of them down, and actually I should probably include them in the book, shouldn't I? Let me know in the chat if you think that should be in the book, because the book's not done yet. I wrote almost everything, and that is in there, but I have room for appendices, and there's already some appendices being considered. I might not put them in there, I might not, but let me know if you think that the scale knowledge onion should be as a thing by itself or not, but the multiple layers of scale knowledge are, anyway, very, 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 very important to consider. How well do you think you really know that scale, What scale is that note 1 different from? Again, for the scale knowledge, for the scale comparison strategy, you kind of need to know that, right? Dorian and Mixolydian. What's different between those two? The third. They're basically, Mixolydian is like the major sounding version of Dorian, but otherwise the same scale. Anyway, stuff like that. So there's, again, I'm posing it like it's trivia, but it's like, how well do you really know that? Can you get from that sound to that sound? Can you evoke that emotion and then pivot and just evoke that emotion by changing 1 note? That's the relevance there. Can you do that in your music? Can you paint that picture and then throw your listener a curveball? No, we're going to feel that instead. Now you're feeling that, aren't you? Isn't that great? So that's what I love about being a musician, is I can control what my listener feels. It's fucking great. Anyway, okay, I have one more for you tonight, and it is the multiple locations strategy. And that's a big one when it comes to your fretboard knowledge, because I know a lot of people learn from tabs. I don't. I hate tab. I really do. I think it's a crutch and a handicap more than it's a help. You do need it, or in fact, I think a better word is it's training wheels. Okay, because training wheels have a purpose, and so does tab. Tab, like training wheels, is to get you used to a new idea that you haven't dealt with before. Okay, to train you to do something that you haven't done before. But the point is to get the hell off of it, like training wheels. If you start off with tab, and then you're still using tab 10 years down the road, what are you doing? That's not how training wheels work. That's not how tab's supposed to work. Use your ears. You're supposed to understand how the music works. You're supposed to work on understanding how the music works so that you don't need someone else to do all the thinking for you, because the thinking is the work. The work you can't cut corners on is the thinking. So if you're letting somebody else do all your thinking for you, you're shortchanging yourself. You're the one cheating yourself out of it. That's what cheating is. You're cheating yourself. So don't cut that corner, whatever you do. Do the thinking. So, yeah. Anyway, multiple locations strategy then. Sorry, I had to go off on a random tangent against the evil that is tablature. Now it's, you know, it has its place, but mostly not in my school. Anyway, a multiple location strategy, unlike tablature, encourages you to find all of the locations of that melody in every octave on every possible combination of strings with however many different techniques you might need in order to accomplish it, right? So, you know, if I'm trying to do this hexachord, A, B, C, D, E, F, I have it up here too. I have it down here. I have it down here with the open strings. I have it at the 7th fret here. I also have it up here. I have it here where it's not at the same fret anymore. Here it was like, you know, everything has been at the exact same starting fret. Now it's not. Got to move up. Same thing down here. We know it's in octaves, but it feels different to play it, so actually play it. That's the point, is get your hand used to it too. Squeeze into those little spaces. Two notes here, and then I don't have enough frets for it, so I'm going to have to hit that F another way. I might even 3 notes here, and then 2 slide up. How many different possible ways can you do that? And that is just where I start with A as the lowest note. With 3 notes per string, there's also an extra cool facet of this. An extra facet that is cool. I mean, not an extra cool. It's extra cool, but it's an extra facet, which happens to be cool. Okay, and it is 3 notes per string. A, B, C, D, E, F. Same melody. Watch this, okay? So, 3 notes per string means that 1 note is going to be the lowest, 1 note's going to be the middle note, and 1 note's going to be the highest note. So, if I'm starting at the lowest note, I've only occupied 1 of the 3 forms that I'm going to need to be able to possibly know, so that I can just throw that in on a moment's notice. So it's a matter of spontaneous familiarity, right? Or enough familiarity with which to be spontaneous. That's what I need to say. All right, so A, B, C, D, E, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, then what about where A is the middle note out of 3? As if there was a G, because there is a G, but I'm not playing it. A, B, C, D, E, F over here by itself, right? What about A, where it's the highest of 3 notes? Where I have F and G below, I'm just not playing them, and I have A, B, C, D, E, F. A by itself, 3 notes on this string, 2 notes on this string. Different note layout is what I call that. So, because that's going to affect your picking, and of course, visually, it's where are the notes, right? So, the thing is though, yes, I could play them all. Here's the thing, technique-wise, you want to get good? Make all 3 of them sound identical. The listener shouldn't be able to hear where you are on the fretboard, for the most part, unless you hit your open lowest string. Then they might be able to tell what you're tuned to. But otherwise, yeah, they probably can't. So it should sound the same in all 3 locations. All right, so that is all I'm going to cover tonight. And again, this is just a tiny, tiny little piece of what's going to be covered in the ShredMentor strategies. I don't even have like a pre-sale order, but I want you to get excited about this book because it's going to change your freaking life, because it's got lots and lots and lots of this stuff. Okay, I only just covered 14 different things here tonight. There's over 45 of them in here. Plus, hey, Mike spoke up. I saw you, Mike. Thanks. Sorry, I didn't mention it, but yes, I am going to. I'll put that scale knowledge onion in the book. Why not? It's in there. It's one of the strategies. I might as well give the complete thing. Yeah, why not? And yes, Mike, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for our appointment. That's going to be awesome. So I look forward to talking more in detail with you about all that stuff. So yeah, I'm going to leave you with that tonight. But yes, be sure. Yeah, you're welcome, Mike. Thank you, man. So yeah, we're going to be not wasting time anymore, right? You do realize you don't want to be old and crusty and unable to move by the time you do this stuff. So I do want to tell you one more thing once we move on from this, and I'll go to my trusty Total Artist Development System. page here, okay? Because that is what all of this is actually coming from, okay? A couple months ago, I made a shift. I don't just teach guitar lessons anymore. This ShredMentor Live, what you're watching right now, this is a fun hangout, and we're going to cover some stuff, and I think it should be pretty much immediately actionable. But this here is being the exception. There's no real strategy in these shows. This is just a fun musical hangout with hopefully entertaining stuff, educational stuff, stuff that I think that people are actually looking for, but frankly might not be the thing that actually is going to get you terribly far. But it should be fun, hopefully inspiring, informative. It's also marketing. I want you to know about the fact that I exist because I want to tell you about things that are going to make a bigger difference in your playing than what you've probably discovered. I don't want to break what works, but I do want you to explore some things you might not have thought of before, because I am very happy with my playing, and I figured out the hard way, the long way, how to get there, and it really didn't need to be that hard when I look back. So I have a bit of a bittersweet mixed emotion about my own progress, and I don't want you to have the same feeling, because the nasty half of that is kind of gross. It's pretty bad. Imagine losing more than a decade of your life over stupidity. I'll admit it, I did that. It sucks. And there's not really any reason to do it, because it's not particularly hard to do the things that we're trying to do. You can get very, very good at playing the guitar, at being fluent and improvising, at writing your own music, and doing it at a highly professional level at home on your own time, if you do the right things in the right order, in the right way, focusing on just the right things. And I don't mean right like right and wrong. I just mean the most efficient thing. What actually needs to occupy your time versus the infinite things that you could potentially spend your time on. That is what the total artist development system is about. Okay, I made this shift a couple months ago. I'm not teaching lessons anymore. Lessons inevitably always become teach me something new, show me something new, and you're just collecting content instead of working toward a goal. This is about goals. So it is no longer lessons, it is coaching, actually, and that's not just semantics. Teaching is conveying information, okay? Training is more like conveying information and conveying skills, but coaching is working toward a very specific goal and helping you get there in the most direct way, okay? And so we're working in a project-based way and not a information-based way, okay? So I'm going to furnish you with all of the skills and multiple coaching calls per month. There are group coaching calls every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and there's also going to be one private one-on-one coaching call once a month. And there are packages that allow for more. So if you're interested in that, you should book a coaching call with me. Email me at info@shredmentor.com, and I will send you the link if that sounds like what you want to do. Because if you are looking to do something like drastically improved in your musicianship, like release an album in the next year or something like that, or drastically improve your playing in the next year, then I want to hear from you. I want to help that become as easy as possible for you to do, so that you can spend the rest of your life doing what you wanted to do instead of just grinding away on the slope lane that everyone else is stuck in because they think they know what you're supposed to do because everybody says so, but everybody doesn't know what they're talking about. And I have to say that what I've done worked for me. I can play how I want to, and I have been helping people for over 15 years to play the way that they want to. So if what you're doing maybe isn't working for you, maybe it's time to adopt something that does work. So if what I'm doing works and what you're doing maybe isn't working so well, maybe you should learn what I'm doing, and I'm happy to let you know what that is once we're working together. So head over to shredmentor.com, tell me a bit about your goals, and actually, just book a free coaching call from there, because that's probably the best way, because that way I'll be equipped to know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, and we can stay on task as we talk about things, and I can let you know whether this is really for you or not. It's not for everybody, but this is a very extensive system that I put together based on the most powerful things that I've discovered and developed over the last 15 years plus. And you're not getting any extra time, so why don't you put it to work for you? Anyway, that's it for tonight, and I thank you all for joining me. I always appreciate all you guys in the chat, so thanks for joining me. But I'm going to head out of here, and I'll see you guys next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m.